And you are live. Welcome to the BlackUSA.News virtual book fair. We're with the one and only. You left out your DR, Dr.
I know,
Leroy.
I know. I don't know how to change it on here, or where you go to on here to change it on here for whatever reason. It just takes me. It just brought me right in. So
How you doing, Leroy?
hey, brother, I can't complain at all, man. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How about yourself, man?
And life's a bowl of cherries. You just gotta know how to pick them.
Hey, I know that's right. I know that's right. I like that.
Yeah, man. Out here trying to sell some books. Where your books at? I
Oh,
got. I
you know
got.
I got them right here. Well, I got four of them right here. Anyway, I got four of them sitting right here.
Show off,
Uh,
Leroy. Hold up, hold up. Let me give you the full.
no, these are four of them that I have. One book of poetry, one business finance book, an anthology book that I have that I was a part of this year, and then my leadership book, The Art of Leadership. Those are just four of them. That I've been fortunate and blessed to be able to write, and just put in some, hopefully some words and knowledge and information and resources that people can use to help people be better, do better, and grow.
Yes, sir. How long you been doing this, Leroy? How long? When did you publish your first book?
I published the first one, which was actually the two. I have three books of poetry, but the two books of poetry, the Inner Soul, Volume 1 and 2. I published those back in 2004. Those are the first two that I did, and then I did the business book series after that. After that one.
Leroy,
So
this is something I want to know. At what point did the business of writing books consume you?
mm, actually, actually, Donnie, from when I decided to write the books of poetry, I didn't want to go the traditional route of publishing. I knew
Why?
that, yeah, I didn't want to go the mainstream where you get an agent, you submit your books to the big publishing houses, because I knew that people, they if you didn't fit in a particular cookie cutter format, then they weren't more than likely to either take you on, or two, they would shape and mold you into what their vision was of you. And I didn't want that. I wanted my
Oh,
vision,
oh, oh,
my
oh.
way.
Explain that for me.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the mainstream publishing, they have a system. They have a publishing book system and formula. And if you don't fit into that formula, then they won't place you in there. They won't take you on. I mean, you can have an agent that'll, publishing agent or book agent that will submit your work and everything like that to them. But if whoever's on the other end of that and reading your book or your press kit and everything like that, and you don't fit into their particular, what they feel is their formula, they won't take you on. Or even when they do take you on, let's say they say, wow, we kind of like what you got, let's sit down and we can talk about it, submit your work to us, and then it goes through their editing process, and and your book can potentially come back looking nothing like what you originally wrote. So it's not even your vision anymore. It's not even what
Why,
what you
why
what
would
you
they?
wanted to say anymore.
Why would they do that? Why would they want to control? Why would I want to control your storyline? And look, we have just been joined by Katherine Trotter. Katherine, you going to show your face?
Absolutely.
Come on in, Katherine.
There
Hello.
she is.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well.
So go ahead,
And
Leroy. Finish up.
well, I'll finish by saying this: just that they would take you on if they see the potential of you bringing dollars to their bottom line.
No,
If
I
they
get
see you,
that part. I get
right?
that part. So their formula, they want. I understand they want to make money, but why would they want to change your story? Because they think they
Because
know they
they see
know
the
what the
potential in
market.
the story. Yeah, they see the potential in your story, and then there might be other parts or aspects of you that they like, but they just want to tweak and kind of turn that story into how they feel it should be said and how you should be projected in their mainstream media. That's kind of to me what I believe what they do and what I've
Okay.
seen them do.
So, folks, we're talking with Leroy McKenzie, author and publisher, and he's going into why he's self-published. Um, who's up next, Leroy? Mike
Well,
Catherine?
yes, let's take Miss Katherine Trotter and have her come and tell us a little bit about who she is and about her books that she has out there. Katherine, how are you this morning?
I am doing good. Thank you so much, Leroy. So, Katherine Trotter, my first book I published was in 2014, Community Engagement from Concept to Implementation, 8 Steps to Unlocking Your Creative Ideas. That book was birthed out of a space where when I engaged with other community leaders that have nonprofit organizations, there was common questions that was being asked of me from an operational standpoint, how to, build their nonprofit, how to execute, how to build their board, how to create their marketing strategy. So there were common 8 questions that was coming to me. So the book was written out of a need that I saw that was needed for the philanthropic community. So the 8-step take an individual through the process of how do you develop your board, how do you create your financial long-term approach and your strategy to make sure your organization has a foundation, right? And not just kind of here one day and then close down the next. The book talks about the ripple effect. The ripple effect meaning when we start an organization, we should be passing the baton to the next generation. I heavily believe in the individual that starts an organization. It shouldn't start and just end with them. We should be pouring back into the next generation so that one day they will be able to be facilitators and in a management role of that organization. Community engagement, that book, it really helps a person to dive in within themselves to identify what their purpose is, what their mission is, why do they do what they do. So I came up with the 8 steps. It's really like if you will, an instructional tool that we can utilize to help an individual execute on their goals and execute on their dreams. Then my second book is Metamorphosis Shadow. Metamorphosis Shadow is really more of a personal development book that I published that dealt with a lot of things that I had to work through personally in my life. So it talks about coming out of the shadows of your past and walking into your destiny. And so within Metamorphosis Shadow, the main character of the book is Destiny. And anyone that reads that book, you would be able to find yourself within Destiny's journey. And so it talks about taking off the mask and truly embracing who you are authentically. And so with Metamorphosis Shadow, the purpose behind why I even wrote it was to help individuals to dismantle a lot of things that I guess you will, life or society has said, this is how you need to be, this is how you need to flow, and to help awaken an individual to who they truly are and walk authentically. And so that's Metamorphosis Shadow. That one is definitely, like I stated, near and dear to my heart because it helps. It is a tool for individuals to grow personally, internally, which then does what? It impacts everyone around them professionally, within their business and their family and in their community.
I love it. I love it, Catherine. And I think it's just wonderful what you've done with the projects that you have. And I know your love and your passion for the community and making all of us better. Now, how can people connect with you to be able to get your books and learn more about you and Metamorphosis?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is www.katherinetrotter.com. And yes, Catherine with a C, Catherine, Trotter, Trotter.com. If you go to the website, you can click on any of the external links that'll take you to the other websites, metamorphosisshadow.com. Of course, you can go directly and download and purchase the book to download the virtual version, or you want the brick and mortar book come to you in the mail. My social media handles, CTR Strategy Solutions, both on Facebook and Instagram. That connects back to the 8 Steps book, because the 8 Steps falls under my consulting business. And then overall, just go to katherinetrotter.com. All these external websites and social media handles that I'm talking about, just, to make it less complicated, if you just go to katherinetrotter.com and you can click on all the external links.
You have your book there? Do you have one of your books? Do you have your book there with you, Kath?
Yeah, let me Yes,
I don't know if you had it
with my
just
book.
to show it really quickly. If you have it.
Let me grab it real quick.
Okay. And Donnie, next up, I gotta bring her. I gotta bring her up next because she. He popped in and popped up. But before I come to Dr. Marcy, I'm a hop down to Mr. Maccabee. Donnie, I want you. This gentleman, I met him through Clubhouse, but I want him to explain what he does, because he does voiceovers. So for authors and everything. So I thought it would be great to invite him and have him come and talk about what he does, and then how authors that we're having here, and then that will be a part of the be a part of the replay, can connect with him. Brother Maccabee, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How are you today?
Hey, I'm great, man. You want to talk a little bit about who you are and tell the people what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Maccabee Griffin of Mac Griffin VO. I am a voiceover actor. I am a narrator. I work on commercials, as well as create character voices for not only small businesses, but for animation studios as well. I do a variety of different things, just because I believe that you cannot just have one stream of income coming in. So being able to work with authors is a great idea, because of the fact that audiobooks are continuing to rise through the years. The publishing company had a profit of about they were forecasting, last time I checked this statistic, was $4.8 billion just in audiobooks alone, out of the 12.5, I think it was, for the past year. And so I love talking to authors, just because of the fact that I feel very passionately that they should also have an audiobook, and they shouldn't be scared of it, because it is a passive income for them. And all they literally have to do is just find a platform. And by the way, there's more than one platform. You don't have to just do Audible, even though Audible is one of the major ones out there. There are 40 plus platforms out there that you can attach your name onto, that are going to help you to get your book out there a lot more than just that one. Audible has over 500,000 authors on there. So especially if you are a new new author, it's very hard for your name to get out there with a lot of the other ones, if you don't put it out there on other platforms first as well. Currently right now, I am working on a book with an author, Mr. Dominique Edmonds, on his book called Set Your Marketing on Fire, or Set Your Business on Fire, excuse me. And hopefully we will be getting that out by next year. That way he can show his company, his authors, because he owns a company called Empowered Publishing Worldwide. And he wants to be the leader of, like any publishing company should be, a leader that not only leads by example, but also has the statistics to show what his authors can do as well with the product. And like I said, I believe that authors all over the world, I don't care if you're someone who's been in the game for 20 plus years as an author, or you're just starting out, people should know that audiobooks are on the rise. They are going to be continuing past 2027. And there's over 131 million people in the US alone that listen to audiobooks on a daily basis. And, we're putting in 16 plus hours of audio programs weekly, and that includes audiobooks. So having the capability of having that many people not only listen to your book, but have the capability of buying your book as well, because at least 49.6% of those people will also buy multiple versions of your book. So especially for authors who have books that are more towards business, that have like graphs in them, samples, that a lot of people, that is really hard just to narrate and they can actually see. It allows them not only to hear it when they can, they can't read the book, but also see the examples in the books as well. So I encourage people all the time just to have that in their back of their mind of, hey, maybe I should have an audiobook and maybe I should get someone else to do it. And there are a variety of voice actors out there, men, women, kids. It does not matter. We can do it. And we do it, and it's not as expensive as people think. It really isn't. There are narrators out there that will do it for, that will go royalty sharing with you, royalty sharing plus, which means that you just put like half of it down, and then the rest of the time, you both are sharing the royalties. Or people like myself that just charge you per finished hour. So
Maccabee, let me jump in for a minute.
Yes, sir.
Can we hear some of those voices you have?
It's always something that people want to hear. It is so interesting how that happens.
But yes, of course, there are multiple versions of the voice that we can do. And it's very fun to do. It's always so fun.
So Maccabee, do you do any children's books?
I'm actually in the talks with one author right now. She is working on writing it up. I have another author who has a series of children's books that is going through the illustrator right now. And then after it's done, she's going to be sending it to me as well. So I have a couple of children's books on the that are growing right now. They're just not in the point of where I can just grab them and start on them yet. But yes, I love to do children's books. I have 2 children of my own. I loved reading to them, Curious George to the train, to Thomas the Train, to literally anything and everything. So yes, I do multiple versions of characters. I have, statistically speaking, I can do over 394,462 distinct voices. Statistically speaking.
Oh wow! Now, Maccabee, how can people connect with you? How can they contact you?
Absolutely, you can actually text the word voice, VOICE, to this number, which is 812-220-3660, and that is to my digital brochure. And you can get a couple of samples of some of my readings, or you can just go directly to my website, macgriffinvo.com, and you can hear all kinds of samples that I have on there, from character voices, commercial promos, to audiobooks, to whatever you want. If it can be digitally presented to the world, and you have a message that needs a personality that will connect to your audience on an emotional level, then I can do it.
So put your book and all of that information in the comment section, and we'll certainly share it. You too, Catherine.
Okay.
Mark
Yes,
Polite,
sir.
all the way from Harlem. What it is, Mark?
Hey, man. Hey, how you doing, Donnie? Good afternoon, everybody.
Here with Leroy McKenzie. Leroy is the guru here in Baltimore. A big help, especially with my ebook. Tell them what you do, Mark.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate the invite, Donnie. Good looking out. So for those who are not familiar with me, I'm a New York City-based writer. I write poetry, and I do essays as well. And the most recent thing that I've done is, and I have to mention it today because I recently published a book called The Binge Watcher's Guide to Black Mirror. It's about a Netflix show on based in science fiction, and coincidentally, today is the 10-year anniversary of the show coming out. And just to give you an idea, well, I have the book here. So for those who are, if you're into science fiction at all, this is out and available. And basically what it is, it's a recap and analysis of all 5 seasons of the show. A lot of themes of, isolation and just what it means to be in a modern society. Is technology a bad thing? Is it destructive to human relationships? Is there too much information out there about people? How well do we really know one another? All these kind of things that themes about cancel culture and social media, all things that we have to face. Nowadays, if you tweet one wrong thing, people will be going at your neck early. So it just kind of gets into that. So, and I'm very proud to say this is the first book that I had published by a publisher. So this is actually my first book deal. My other 3, were, self-published, and now I'm emerging as not only a self-published author, but a published author as well. So basically that's what I'm into, and that's what I do. I talk about things, science fiction, history, Black history, labor. I do music reviews, book reviews, that kind of stuff. So, all around, mix it up a little bit. So that's what I'm about.
Mark, can you tell them about the Harlem Writers Guild?
Yes, definitely. So in addition to being a writer, I'm also a member of the Harlem Writers Guild. I joined back in 2018. And for those who are not aware, the Harlem Writers Guild is the oldest continuing Black writers organization in the United States and possibly the whole world. We were founded in 1950, and amongst our founders were, John Henry Clark, and people like that. And we have people such as Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee, and people like Paul Robeson who were part of the guild, in the 60s and everything. So there's a lot of history there. We just this last month we celebrated our 70th year anniversary, and if you can actually go and see the program if you want to. Everybody's welcome to visit www.harlemwritersguild.org. When you get a chance, you can actually see the program, and you can see not only about our history, you can also see our current roster of readers, our current roster of authors. So that's something else that you could also learn about that we're doing now currently.
What are the names of your books?
Okay, so the names of my books are, the first one is Poetic Ruminations Volume 1. The second one is Everything to Learn, Nothing to Teach. It's a collection of essays, and I talk about my personal life and my upbringing in Harlem and everything like that. My third book is Poetic Ruminations Volume 2, and that's a follow-up of poems about navigating the world as a Black man and just dealing with the mayhem that's kind of thrown our way a lot of times. So that's my third book, and my fourth most recent book is The Binge Watcher's Guide to Black Mirror.
And one last question: How do you sell books in New York City, a city with 8 million people? How do you stand out?
Well, how I stand out, I promote myself heavy on social. I go to every book. Well, before all this, we're starting to get back to some of the in-person events, but before all this happened, I used to go to every book event that I could, whether it's the Harlem Book Fair, the Bronx Book Fair, the Queens Public Library, the Brooklyn Book Festival, everywhere I could to promote myself. I would even go so far as to come to book fairs outside the city. I used to venture to the Library of Alexandria to promote my work. I used to go to DC, the bookshops down there, to promote my stuff. I've even been to Baltimore too, at the Pratt Library. That was about good 6 years ago, so it's been a minute. So, but yeah, I just try to make my presence wherever I am, and just let people know where I am and what I do. And it's difficult to stand out, but if people see that you're serious about it, pardon me, they'll notice that, okay, this guy's really believes what he's talking about. So yeah, that's how it helps me stand out and promote my work, just by being everywhere and possibly can.
I'm gonna pass the ball back to Leroy. Leroy, any thoughts on getting one's book in the public library? Something we often don't think of.
No, it's actually one of the key strategies, and you start with the local libraries, and connecting with whoever are the gatekeepers, in those particular areas, and you want to just connect with them to find out what their process is, because each of them may have a different process as to how you go about submitting your book to be able to be in the particular library. And then once you have your book in one library, then you can, you build on that, because then it becomes, they're all connected. Virtually, they're all connected in a lot of ways. So once you get into one library, then you're able to say, hey, I have this, but I have my book in this library, and I'm looking to be able to get it into various libraries throughout the country. So I think that's a good way to start with it. And you're right, Donnie, it is a kept secret for some people. They don't think about putting their books in a library, but that's a major deal. Can be a major deal for you if you are able to, connect with the libraries and be able to get your books in there.
Can I say something real quick? Yes, absolutely, with the libraries, because like you said, a lot of people don't even think about putting their books directly with the libraries, because they do use the same system to share books with everybody. And if it means that they can't get it locally, they can actually get it from a different library sent to them. And here's the other thing I love to tell people about the libraries too, because I agree absolutely everything you just said, is that when you're doing an audiobook, you need to think about that too, because the libraries are adding memberships and subscriptions as well. So every time that your book gets presented or gets downloaded, they will actually pay you for that as well at the end of the month. So again, libraries are the key to everything that we as creative writers and authors, published authors, need to present to the world. And that's the best way a lot of times to get a following, is to present yourself in a library first before you think about the bigger companies like Audible, like Awsound, Freeways, all those other places. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Dr. Marcy
Absolutely.
Batiste, how are you? How you doing, Doc?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Loud
now
and
we can.
clear.
Okay. All right. I don't know what was going on. I'm good. Thank you for having this event. I've already started my note taking. So the
Where
information
you
on the
from, Doc?
libraries was quite helpful. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona.
Sounds
I
hot.
don't know.
Are we having some technical difficulties?
No, I think he was on mute, Doc. I think he was on mute. Because we can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay.
Tell
Yeah.
us about your book, Doc.
Well, I'm an author of several books. I'm working on book 12 and 13 right now. And so they go across a variety of genres. I would say the one that I'm the most proud of is a compilation book that we put together. I brought in some brand new authors who'd never written a book before, and they participated in the project with me. It's called Power of 50. We released that on my 50th birthday, and it went bestseller within the hour. So we're super, super proud of that. And we're getting ready to start seeking new authors for the second edition of The Power of 50. And so it's got a bunch of great short stories in there. The goal for the book was to reach back to younger women who are going through a variety of different life obstacles and give them an opportunity to see that no matter where you are in your process, no matter what's going on in your life, you have the opportunity to be able to not only get through it, but actually truly find your own personal power after the trauma or after the pain.
Wow.
Any tips on selling the books?
I think just like Mark was saying, like, you have to be your own promoter. You have to be your own salesperson. A lot of times people think, oh, well, if I just get with a publisher, then I'm just going to blow up and my book's going to be a huge success. And they have all these, outrageous fantasies about how many books they'll be able to sell and how much they'll be able to monetize off of it. And understanding that the publisher's job is to publish the book. It's not to promote the book. And so I think sometimes people don't really understand that process. So when I'm working with clients on their author, through my author coaching program, I always make sure they understand, like, you have to promote your book. If you're not talking about it, nobody's going to know that you're there. And even if you go into a publisher and they get you on a huge distribution list and they get you in some of the big centers, nobody's going to know you're on there unless you're talking about it. So it's definitely up to you to do. And you have to constantly keep it in front of everyone. And myself, even being guilty of that, I tend to write the book, promote it for a while, and then I'm on to the next thing because I write so many books a year. But
how many books you write a year?
Usually on average about 4, but this year I'm on track to do 5. So,
well, damn.
It's just because for like right now, I've got a couple new programs that are coming out for 2022. And so for those, each one of those has a book that will go with it as sort of the foundation for it. So if you don't sign up for the program or you're not signing up for the coaching, you still have access to the information. You just have to help yourself to the information.
So Doc, I just heard you talk about something. I'm gonna pass it to Leroy. I know I said it before, but you are, I'm hearing some cross promotion. Like, we do Black Wall Street events, and so it only made sense for me to have a book on Black Wall Street. But I'm hearing you say something similar, that all of these things have to overlap and intertwine and work together. You want to touch that?
Yeah. So for instance, the newest project is called Challenge to Change. And so Challenge to Change has the book, and then it's got a workbook, it's got a journal, and then we've got a workshop that's like 4 hours long. We've got a 2.5-day corporate training program that goes with it. And so everything kind of funnels back up into that. And then we're actually right now working on a process to convert that training and that module into a treatment program for addiction, because we talk about the generational systems and things like, I'm a domestic violence champion. So things like domestic violence is a symptom of a generational system that you're born into. And so you have to take and do the work to reconstruct the system so that what's in you doesn't come out of you.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Miss Trotter, you gonna say something?
Well, I'm really soaking in what she was just saying, and actually it's motivating me. And I don't know if my facial expressions can show it, because everyone has been motivating me, but particularly with this queen that was just speaking, just hearing how you're going forth, and it motivates me to even go greater for next year. And I think when she was talking about the domestic violence piece and how that plays into our life and in community is major. And I think also what's so interesting is that what I'm hearing, she not only just has a book, but it's other legs from the book. It's other pieces of the puzzle, like it's turning into curriculums and things of that nature, and which is going to have a greater impact in the community. And I just embrace that. And for those that may not have heard, I wrote a book called Metamorphosis Shadow. I know Leroy wanted me to show it. This is the cover of it.
Nice.
So the symbolism behind the smoke, again, is really me coming out of the shadows of my past and things that I went through in my life. And this book connects back to the community, because a lot of times we live in our past and we don't live in our present. And we're not living in our present, we're not moving forward to hitting our goals. And so this book takes a person through dismantling any myth about themselves, dismantling any perceived ideas of other people that they put on them or that we receive from other people. And I can speak to that because I lived through that myself, in terms of having others project on what Katherine Trotter should be, what Katherine Trotter should be doing. And so this book was very, it really helped me to unlock doors in my life. And as those doors unlock, my purpose of writing this book is to help other people unlock those doors in their life. because a lot of times we are living in the shadows of our past. And I think what Dr. Was just saying, when we talk about domestic violence, I've seen that in so many situations in family, right? And a lot of times we've embraced it as, well, this is just the norm. This is just what happens. And then when we become an adult, we either be the abuser or we have become being abused, right? And I'm gonna be sharing more about that going into 2022 myself personally, that I went through certain things this year that I never would have thought would have happened to me. And so when we talk about coming out of the shadows of your past, it's also coming into the place that you're centered with yourself. Because when you're centered with yourself, you don't allow all of these external things to infiltrate into you and hinder you from moving forward. So I would just say, definitely be encouraged. Anybody that's watching right now, and anybody that's watching and saying, you know what, I want to birth a book, I want to release a book, but I don't feel I'm good enough, I don't feel I'm qualified enough. I encourage you to take your story, right, and put it in a book, because when you take your story and you put it in a book, it's going to help unlock the doors of so many others. Just by being, I was only here for 10-15 minutes, and I've already gotten more motivated than I was before I got on this platform today. So write the book. Don't let nothing hinder you. Don't let nothing stop you. Go all the way to the top.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Marcy, Donnie, before we go to our next author, Dr. Marcy, I want to ask you this. If you could talk a little bit about, you said you did an anthology. You had a group of women that you wrote with a book with, and then you have your individual books. Can you talk about the dynamics of that and how you approach those two different ways of writing books, and then the difference in them, and then also the commonalities with them as well?
Yeah, so the book that we did as a group is called The Power of 50. It's 50 life lessons to become your best self. And what I did with that, like I said, I got the idea late that I wanted to do something spectacular for my 50th birthday. And so I just really put out a battle cry that said, hey, if you have a story, because my whole thing is, and I tell everybody, Leroy, you see me all the time, like your story has value. And so I want people to understand exactly what Ms. Trotter was saying, to be able to tell your story. And so I do a variety of different things to give people a platform. And that was what this was. And so I reached out to, my goal was to get 50 women to tell 50 powerful stories. I ended up with 7 very, very strong, amazing sisters who just really, really came through, and none of them had been writers before. So it was not only just about creating this particular project, but there was a lot of coaching that went into it, because their stories were intimate. They were personal. We're talking about things like putting your kids up for adoption. We're talking about being molested, being raped. We're talking like very, very deep subject matters. And so because they were not accustomed to telling their story, we had to work through that process. And so, but at the end of the day, I started the call for it in August. We got the writers on board in September. I had them all complete their projects by November, and we released the book December 11th. So it was a very quick process. But that's the other thing too. I think that when people, because I hear people say, oh, I've been trying to write this book for 15 years. I've been working on it for 5 years. It doesn't take that long. It only takes that long because it takes you that long. And so sometimes if we give ourselves too much time or too much space or too much leeway, then we tend to take it and we walk that path of least resistance. And it's easy to come up with excuses not to write, and particularly if you're writing something very personal about your life and telling your personal story, you can hit what I call the wall, where you're faced back with dealing with some of those demons, because you have to speak to those demons. You have to speak through those demons in order to tell the story. So that was the unique thing about that. And, just keeping everyone on task. Like, that's what's hard when you bring other people into a project with you. When you're doing your own stuff, it's only up to you. So it goes as fast as you go or as slow as you go. So I'm able to crank a lot of projects out very quickly because I normally just write myself. But Power 50 was a collab. We'll start a new one in 2022 for the second edition of that. And then with Challenge to Change, I wrote the initial book, but now to create the curriculum for the drug and substance abuse treatment, I brought in another doctor who runs a treatment program in another state. And so she's going to contribute to that project as well. So that'll end up being a collab. So what was a completed project for me and for what I needed initially, when I saw the opportunity for that collaboration and how many more lives it can help and save, then we went back kind of to the drawing board. And so we're doing some modifications to that book.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now I want to jump down to, if we can, that Alexis. I want to have you introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about your book or books.
So I want to say thank you to Donnie. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm friends of Donnie, and Donnie invited me in, and I wrote a book about 4 years ago. 51 Business Essentials, which was a culmination of some business tips that I ran an IT company in Baltimore for about 12, 13 years. I also own a website called Black Business Review, similar to Donnie's.net, and it's just global news we share with people throughout the world. But what I really came on to talk about, and Donnie encouraged me, was over the last 2 years, I've been gathering notes from some additional business experience and raising capital and traveling. And just about 2 days ago, I launched another book. And as Dr. Marcia mentioned, I raised a book called 12 Great Business Principles. And I'm adding a workbook to that. And I just started, so I'm really going into the heavy marketing stage. But I got a pretty good following on the internet. I'm pretty comfortable with the marketing side of it. So I'm pretty comfortable I can move books. But Donnie has been a real encouragement to get out and write my second book, which is done now, right? Which is published. And the hardest thing in the world is to get out there and get it done. You'll keep making excuses until Donnie came along and pushed me and said, just get it done. And I think once I got it done and I sent it to an editor, and I had 12 great business principles updated, I was ready to roll with it. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the project. And it just went on Kindle, and I'm waiting to get approval on Amazon. And I'm going to do some books, some book fairs, and I'm going to get into the library. I got a sister named Jacqueline Coach. She has 4 spiritual books. So I'm trying to catch up with my older sister. So I'm pretty comfortable in writing. But Donnie has been an extremely strong inspiration, and especially in this book, getting it done from all the notes I've had that I've collabed it all into one on how to build a business and how rising to power, raising capital, putting your business together, who to partner with, who to take capital from, who not to take capital from. And I have quite a few experiences, some global experience I believe I can share with some people and make life a little bit easier on some people upon starting a business. So I just want to thank everyone. I'm listening to all you guys. I'm learning some new things. So I'm pretty excited about being on board here. So thanks a lot, everyone.
If I may interject real quick, because everybody here, I love everybody's story. I love hearing about their books and everything. And as a storyteller myself, I love telling stories. And as a voiceover actor, I love telling the stories as well. But one of the things that I'm hearing a lot of people say is it's the networking. It's the networking, or excuse me, it's the marketing of the books. It's the networking of the books.
Yeah.
And when I put in the link for the chat and stuff for my digital brochure, I wanted everybody to see it just because I believe that if you can have just one landing page for your book, it's a way that you can use it as a tool to benefit yourself, especially like what you just said. With you have a lot of people on your social medias that are following you, presenting that to them with that one link will allow them to say, hey, here's my book. Here's everything about the book. Here's how to book me. Here's how to go to my website or get a sample of the audiobook part that I'm presenting, or even the digital copy of your book, like the first chapter or a part of the book, first part of that book. Then it allows you to push it out more and just have your followers actually share that to everyone else as well. So it's an easier way of spreading the news about your book. And I love using it. And again, if anybody would love to know more about that, the digital brochure, the text for more brochure program that I'm using, I'll be happy to talk to anybody about it, because I also know the owner and the person who actually created it. And I'm sure that he would love to talk to every one of you about how to create something specific for you.
So talk a little bit about, because I've been interviewing about 3 people in reference to doing voiceovers, and I've been getting some extremely deep prices. I mean, when I say deep, it's deep, right? It's 130 pages, and it's like $50 a word for $5 or something, some weird number. It was like $4,000 to record the book.
No.
Well, this is just one person. This is
right.
I went to fiber, but I'm looking for someone who can do a voiceover.
Who is it? James Earl Jones?
Yeah, that's not what I'm about to say.
I'm looking for someone. I'm looking for someone who can do a really good voiceover.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to talk to you offline about that. But
just
to give you an idea, you're going to get a variety of different rates out there, because every narrator is different. Okay, some of them who are just starting will charge you like $50. Some of them who've been in the game for years will charge you like $500 per finished hour. For me personally, I go the medium, because I don't want to take away from the author's pocket, but I also need to make money myself as a business owner. So I charge $300 per finished hour. So you said how many words would you say?
130 pages.
130 pages. So that's around what, 30,000 words?
I think the number is 30,000.
Okay, so I can tell you right now, I could do that for $300 per finished hour, because that'll run you around 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 48 seconds if I'm at for 30,000 words. Okay. I've used it so many times, I know exactly what it is. With my price and everything, I would charge you a little over $1,000, and that'll give you about because it takes so much time to put into these books. For something that is 30,000 words, and a narrator can put in between 16 to 25 hours just to not only record it, but edit it, make sure it's in the right format for whatever platform you're wanting to put it on, because every platform is different with their standards, their recording standards. So I would definitely say, for me personally, I can do it for a little over $1,000, and I would actually create for you an MP4 sample of that, like maybe the first part of that chapter, up to 5 minutes worth of the audio file. And what it would do is just have a picture of you as well as a picture of your cover for your book. And that way you can present it as a sample to everybody on your social medias, as well as just presenting it to people in general that you would want to put, like for an email campaign.
We're going to shift over to Nodella. Nodella, how you doing today?
Hey, Donnie, can I get what's your name so I can make sure I get you down?
Sure. He's going to put that in the chat or the comment section. Nodella, how you doing?
I am doing wonderful. Good afternoon or good morning. Not sure if everyone's in the same time zone. It's good to be on board. Shout out to my big brother Leroy for sending me the information.
Absolutely.
What's your book, Nodella?
Well, I actually have 2 books. My first book is called The Intimate Place, My God, My Man, Myself. And that book was birthed from going to church services and seeing those in the service struggle to be intimate with the God they say they know. And I compare that to a husband and wife struggling to be intimate with each other, though they're husband and wife. And it shouldn't be that way if you're in that type of relationship. And so my desire is to remind us of what intimacy really is. If we go by what society says, society will have you believing, as it has done for so long, that it only equates to sex. And so I just kind of really dive in. I identify 6 types of intimacy. 5 of them are non-sexual, and we experience those far more than obviously the sexual. And I just want us to be more intentional. I want us to be more conscious about when we are having those times of intimacies. And so one example that I love sharing is when girls go and hang out. Yeah, me and my girls, we went out tonight, we hung out, when in actuality, you was having a time of intimacy. It was verbal, it was emotional, it was mental, nothing to do with sex. And so many people really get away from identifying as well as saying, oh, I had an intimate moment with my girls. And I tell people there's nothing funny about that, you know. So I just want us to become more aware of what intimacy really is. And in Latin, intimacy simply means to have close relationships or close relations, to be, you know, close friends. And, you know, I don't see it that much. Growing up, I saw it a lot, but we didn't identify it as such. And so, you know, I just talk about the 3 major relationships we have for those who are spiritual or religious with God. If you're in a relationship, or if you desire to even be in a relationship, it says my man, because obviously I wrote it from a woman's perspective, but I tell men, listen, it works just the opposite way as well. And then the myself chapter, which really deals with yourself and all of the relationships that we have, whether it's with God, whether it's with our mate, family, friends, co-workers, and even strangers, just how much intimacy really is there in our everyday life, but we're not conscious enough of it to identify our interactions in such a manner.
So, Nodella, for us men who are stupid, can you give us one suggestion on how to be more intimate with our mate?
Well, it really starts more so with yourself first. If you struggle with being intimate with yourself first, it's not gonna you're gonna have some issues when it comes to the opposite sex. So for me personally, and Leroy knows this because we go at it almost every week, football. I am very passionate about football, so much passionate that I actually have 3 football teams.
Yeah, I wish Dr. Marcy was here because her and Elder Della, I dig into them all the time. Donnie, tell them who your teams are, please. And there she is. Did she pop up? I want her and Dr. Marcy to tell you who their teams are.
So my
You
teams
know, I
are
was
in
coming
this
when I heard
exact
football.
order.
I was like, hold up now, wait a minute.
So
Wait
my
a minute.
teams are in this exact order. I picked up the Chicago Bears when I was about
Oh my
7 or
God.
8 years old.
Oh my God.
Then I picked up the New York Giants in middle school, and then I picked up the Patriots shortly after that. Don't hate, don't hate, don't hate, don't hate. Stop hating. It don't look good on you.
No, wait a minute, Donnie. I gotta bring Dr. Marcy in here because it's a game tomorrow, and I want her to tell everybody who her favorite team is.
Where you at, Dr. Marcy?
Don't-
Nodella, what city do you live in?
I'm in Baltimore. I'm right here with
Oh my
Leroy,
God.
but I'm originally from up north.
Go ahead, Dr. Marcy. Tell him, because you know I'm gonna get you.
How you gonna live in Baltimore? You ain't gonna say the Ravens, Nodella.
Don't be cussing at me. Do not
Baltimore
cuss at
Ravens.
me. Do not cuss at me. Do not cuss at me. I don't like
Baltimore
cussing.
Ravens.
Don't be cussing at me. No, no, no. Now I do love Lamar Jackson, but that's as far as I go. That's as far as I go.
You ain't heard the best yet. Dr. Marcy, go on, tell him.
Officer,
Go.
we have a lady from
NFL,
Baltimore
that's
who
the
don't like
Pittsburgh
the
Steelers.
Ravens.
I don't think they heard Donnie was talking. Go ahead, Dr. Bussy.
I said there's only one team in the NFL, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I kind of like them back in my young days, but
Oh my
I don't know
God.
about them being the one team. So
Y'all talk
Okay,
about domestic
you're right.
violence.
There's 31 other teams, but only one team that matters. How about that?
I agree with.
This is very violent.
So to give you an example, so this is what my book looks like. So this is what my book looks like. And so to give you an example of, it's not so much about how the man can be more intimate. Truthfully, when I wrote the book, after I began to write it, my purpose really or my focus really shifted more towards the men, because I wanted them to understand how most women think. I know some women, they think however, but I believe I can safely say that how most women think. So it's more about, I want the man to understand what a woman looks for in intimacy. And one of the things that I also talk about is that what happens when that man or that woman, for those who may not realize, women can become impotent as well. We know so many bodily diseases are on the rise to where it kills that sexual desire. So both men and women, they both can be intimate from that perspective. So then what do you have outside of sex? If your relationship was started on sex, then, and that is removed, then what is now holding that relationship together? I know people say love, but we see people are constantly talking about, oh, we fell out of love. Okay, so when there is no love, what do you have left to hold that relationship together? Because your typical person, they no longer have patience nor the tolerance to want to be in the presence of that individual because they feel there's no connection. And it's just my personal belief, because I did research and I see there's a number of people who talked about intimacy, but it's my personal belief that when you do not have intimacy as the foundation of your relationship, and I'm not talking about just from the intimate perspective, but even in friendships. And I was sharing not too long ago on my live about how, when I see people talk about, oh, that's my best friend, but the moment y'all have a falling out, you putting all their business out, their dirty laundry out on social media. That's not a friend. You are now an enemy. You are a combatant. And so what is holding that relationship together? And I believe that intimacy is definitely the glue and the foundation to every relationship that we desire to have as human beings.
But Nodella, you were supposed to give me an example of how to be more intimate.
Well, it depends on, so I talk about when you have a mate where you're a person who likes to, let's say, hold hands, and some men, they don't like to hold hands. So that woman has to teach that man what she likes for intimacy outside of the sexual experience. And if he's willing, if he really loves her, or if he's really into the relationship, then he will adjust himself, but then vice versa. If the man is a cuddler, and you have some women who don't like to cuddle, as shocking as it may be, some women don't like to cuddle. So he then in turn also have to teach her how to cuddle if she really wants to be in that relationship. So one of the things that, I talk about is, I tell the woman to be the sugar to his tea or to his coffee.
Okay.
And likewise, the man can do the same for the woman.
Can I just interject
Come
a
on,
thought?
come on, Doc.
And maybe she has an opinion on this, but so when you were talking about intimacy and being able to teach intimacy and the sexual aspects and things, I was in a relationship for a number of years with a gentleman, and he ended up getting prostate cancer. And as a result of his prostate procedure, he lost a great deal of his ability to function in a traditional sexual manner, right? And so we had a lot of conversations about what intimacy really is, what it looks like, other ways to explore it, and even how to reach a sexual satisfaction without traditional intercourse, right? Um, but here's my thought on that, and this was just my personal experience, was
Mhm.
that it wasn't about what the other options were. It wasn't about being able to teach him. It was about his own self-belief that that's his contribution to the relationship and to the world, basically, was he had attached so much to his manhood and his sexual prowess and those types of things that I couldn't undo that. And
Right.
so, although I encouraged him to go to therapy and so forth, things like that, he refused and instead resulted to alcohol, which it then ended up ending the relationship because I'm just you have to be willing to do some work on yourself in order to
Absolutely.
make this go forward. So I guess that was just sort of my thought, is that sometimes it's beyond what we can do as a partner to help them
Yes.
reach that level of intimacy, and that they have to do some self work as well.
And I talk about that in the book. You know, and you're spot on again. When one of you become to a point to where you cannot perform sexually, what then is holding the relationship together? And if that person does not properly process, with exactly what you're saying, Dr. Marcy, is that he did not properly process what he had gone through personally. And then what we tend to do is that even when we're in a relationship, or even as much as a marriage, we have the tendency of cutting that person off because we reach a point of saying, well, you don't understand what I'm going through. No, I don't understand what you're going through because, one, I haven't gone through it. However, I'm here because I want to be here. You know, I'm not feeling that kind of pity for you, but I'm here. But some people, they just reach a mental mindset of saying, well, this is my life. And so this is what it is. And then they just dismiss everything else. And like you said, you know, he turned, unfortunately, to alcohol, and caused the relationship to end. But it wasn't that you wasn't there, you wasn't understanding, you wasn't supportive. Is really going back to that mindset piece of what is that person actually thinking. And a lot of men, their mindset when it comes to intimacy, like we women back in the day, we used to say, yeah, I'm going to hang out with my girlfriend. Well, you would never hear a man say, well, I'm going to hang out with my boyfriend. He would say, as an alternative, well, I'm going to hang out with the boys, or I'm going to hang out with the guys. And so also in that book, again, it's also to help men to understand that it's okay to identify that you also identify what intimacy is, and you're into intimacy just as much as your partner or the next person. So I
No,
want
no,
men
Della,
not to feel
let me just
ashamed.
jump in because I see
Mhm.
you a takeover artist.
I'm
Carmen, are you
sorry.
still there? Carmen, you there?
I think she. I
Carmen?
don't see. Yeah, I don't see her, Donnie. So I don't know if she's in the
She's
back
in.
or not.
She's
I
coming back.
There
am.
she
I'm
is.
here.
Come
I
on,
am
Carmen.
here.
Tell us about your book. No, Della's straight takeover. I should have known. She said Baltimore.
No, I'm a New Yorker. I'm technically a New Yorker.
She's bi-city. She's from
No,
sort
no,
of
don't
rougher
go there
cities.
because I'm a New Yorker. So I'm not a takeover.
I love New
No,
York.
I'm a
because he
New
said
Yorker
I'm
too.
from
Okay,
Baltimore, but I'm
Marcy.
actually from up north. And I can now hear your accent, Carmen. I can hear your accent.
I'm a New Yorker also.
Hmm.
Talk
Y'all
polite there
had
to your home girls.
no, trust me, I ain't gonna take over. I know how to release the mic. I learned real quick how to release the mic.
Welcome, Carmen.
First, I want to really thank you and appreciate and thank Dr. Leroy for allowing for inviting me to share. And I'm one of the newer. I am one of the newer writers and authors because I'm basically in my co-authorship right now, but I am preparing and writing preparing and writing and, preparing, especially for the beginning of the year, to launch and write my solo book. But right now I'm, basically promoting and, this particular book, because this is launching, exciting me about writing more and more. And it's called A Stage of Their Own. I am Carmen. They call me CK. I'm also a reverend. I also an owner and CEO of a travel business called KM Travels. And writing has been a part of me for a while, but I just didn't want to write. I did not want people to know my business. I wasn't sure of how to really explain where I was coming from and all of those things. So,
So what
um,
happened?
I
What
got
happened?
stuck. Huh?
What happened?
There was different, like you go through experiences in your life and you're like, well, how do you explain that without really telling all of your business? And that's what my thought was. And when the person that launched this book or collabed this book for the World Voice League, I was like, I don't think I want to do this. And then I realized, that people need to hear your voice.
Mm-hmm.
People need to hear, because you never know whose life that you're touching just by sharing your experience. That doesn't mean you got to get into depth detail, but there's certain things that people need to know that you made it through. And guess what?
So can
They
they?
can make it through also.
Good
So
for you.
when we launched this book and we collabed this book, A Stage of Their Own, it's talking about, it's more than a movement. It's talking about you each of us going through a process, going through a major change in our life and still moving forward, and making it through. And this is what I've been promoting for the longest: victory, because there is victory in the midst of it all, even though it's very difficult at times. I mean, it could get very difficult at times, even just writing, like you asked me why didn't I want to write the book, because when you experience certain things and the negativity and all of those things, you kind of like fighting through that, because you're like, nobody don't want to hear my story. I don't have a story like our first lady, the queen of our president first, our former first lady and stuff like that. And you start thinking of those things, but you have to just be your unique self and just give your version, and you'll be surprised of what you accomplish and how people see you differently. So I'm excited about the next movement. I'm excited about the books that I am going to bring out. One of them is Victory. The other one is Do, which is the daily empowering word, because we need that word daily to keep us going and keep us focused.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm going to be doing as 2022 comes in. And I really thank Leroy for the encouragement, for the empowerment, as he continues forward, and just encouraging other authors to let your voice be heard.
Well, well,
And I appreciate you, Sir Danny. Thank you, for this forum.
well,
Thank
Carmen
you.
and Nodella, please, Mark, you gotta invite them to your groups and the work you do there in New York City.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. No
Yeah, because she
problem.
she has
Awesome.
a, she has a story to tell, man, and I love that, because just like she said, everybody's got a story. It may be normal to you, but it's something that someone else can learn from. And the one thing that I've truly figured through my life is that everybody's got two streets that they can go down. You can go down the easy street or the hard street. The easy street turns into a highway that everybody's on, and you're going to deal with a lot of of traffic on there, and you're not going to pick up any wisdom at all. Because here's the thing: the people who built that highway have already dropped all the wisdom, and the rows and rows of people behind them have already picked all those up. So when you go down the hard street, you're going to hit obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. But the great thing about that is that those obstacles are going to give you pieces of wisdom that are going to get you through the next obstacle. And it's just going to get easier and easier and easier. And then when people, when you hit that crossroad with other people, your job as someone who has developed over the years this great wisdom is to give that wisdom back to them, because that's why they're coming into the point where you're at. So you can give them that same wisdom that you got for them that specific way, in that specific situation. That way they can move on and hit a different way. They can make that choice of going back to the easy way or the hard way. And you're right. That's true on that so much.
Mark, you want to invite him up to some of your groups?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, we're doing like some things virtually. We got some things virtually planned for 2022, and looking to get into more poetry and all that. So I wanted to follow up on what you were saying, Maccabee, about going the easy road versus the hard road. I can attest to that, because I've had a path that hasn't been the easiest. Because the funny thing about it is that, like, people know me as an author. But the funny thing is that I did not start as an author. I started off actually as a blogger, right? And I know it's not a big thing anymore like it used to be. People are more so with the YouTube and all that kind of stuff. But when I started blogging back in 2009, right, people would look at me and say, "What are you doing?" Like, I would get a lot of criticism and say, like that's not going to lead anything. Then it's not going to lead anything. I had people get in my ear saying to me that, if you're not making $1,000 a month, that you're not doing nothing. I had people saying to me that, if you don't make enough money to quit your day job, you ain't doing nothing. So, I had a lot of negativity in my ear saying, your journey's not all that popping anyway. So, I had people indirectly say that to me. So
that is some
but
gall.
the funny thing about it is that I had to dismiss a lot of that stuff and had to, unfortunately, part ways with some people who I even thought of as people who I would, would be mentions and everything. I had to part ways, and then I had to segue and be like, you know what? I wanted to go from being a blogger to being an author. And when I actually put out my first book, some people were saying that, you're a blogger. Why are you putting out a book of poetry? This is off-brand, But I did not. I disregarded that. I did not listen. And
did you delete them out your phone book? Did you delete them out your phone book?
Oh yeah, deleted, blocked, all that. Instagram deleted, Twitter deleted, blocked, all that stuff. So I just had to keep on pushing. So, long story short, if I had listened to people who were around me early in my blogging career, I wouldn't have gotten to the point where to get to be published. I wouldn't have been a member of the Harlem Writers Guild, because you need to be actively writing to be part of the Harlem Writers Guild. Now, if I had listened to the wrong people, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So, I can attest to what you're saying, about the hard road. It wasn't, 12 years ago when I first started my blog in 2009. There's no way that I can conceptualize the idea that someone like me, who went to grad school in Harlem, who studied in the Schomburg Library, go from there when I was an undergrad so long ago, to actually having my book in the Schomburg. It's like a long stretch, So, I can attest to the long, hard road. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it's the necessary thing.
Come on, test that for me, Leroy. You the guru. You have any haters, Leroy?
There are haters everywhere, and that folks that won't believe in you. And I'm not just talking about people that you call your friends. I'm talking about your family that may not necessarily believe in you. Be like, oh, well, why are you doing this thing or that thing, or it's not working, or it didn't work. Why are you still going at it? the haters come along with what it is that you do. But just like you
Absolutely.
said, Maccabee, it's that easy road that everybody. The Bible says it like this: what is it? The road is wide, but the road is narrow for those that want to go it's not the easy route. It's not that way of everyone else, and that's where you find your strength. To be honest with you,
True.
the
Yes.
easy path doesn't give you anything because it's what everybody else is doing. But when you take that road that not everybody goes on, and you're able to push through and get through those obstacles, and you're able to say, "Wow, these are things that I've overcome and that I've accomplished." Man, it becomes something that fuels you, that gives you energy and shows you who you are. It develops you. It develops you as a
Absolutely.
person. It develops you
Absolutely.
as and helps you to be able to develop others. Because everybody on here that is an author and telling their story, I say this all the time. You give power to someone else to tell their story or to get through their
Yes.
story. So
Yes.
Preach,
that's the
preacher.
importance.
Preach,
that's
preacher.
the importance of telling your stories and putting them out
Yes.
there, whether it's through audiobooks, whether it's through voiceovers, however you get that message out there, you
Mhm.
get it out there, because you never know who it is that you're going to impact. And I tell my clients, authors, this: who are you to keep somebody else from hearing what it is that they need to hear from you? How
Yep.
dare you? How
And
dare you not do that?
here's
You
the
know,
other
For
thing.
me, as I shared, I'm originally actually from Connecticut. I was born in New York, but I grew up in Connecticut. And it was prophesied to me, for those of you who understand what prophecy is, to write 2 books. And so, I was like, okay, God, yep, whatever. So all of a sudden, God was like, I want you in Baltimore. And I was like, what? So as you see, I conceded to his request. And when
I
I
don't know if God told you that, boo boo.
Daddy, you know what? Wait till I meet you. And I'm saying I'm gonna meet you. Wait till I meet you. So I get here and I start a new job. It's a great new job. All of a sudden, 3.5 months later, they laid me off. And I'm like, what the what? And so I get home, I boo-hoo, I fall out. I'm like, God, what is this? I said, why did you let this happen? I said, you knew they was going to do this. Where's my job? He said, I told you to write 2 books. I said, I am when I'm about 60 or 70. And at that time, I was in my 40s. He said, no, I mean now. After I cleared up all my
I don't
years
mean to
and stuff.
interrupt you, but you see what's happening, right? Listen,
Yep.
you can't run. You can run, but you can't hide. And that's
Yep.
the issue.
Yep.
You can run, but you can't hide. When
Who
you
does
have
that remind us of? Who does that
Definitely.
remind us of? Jonah?
Yep, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I got up the next day early as if I was going to work, and I go into prayer and I said, okay, so what am I writing about? Forgetting about the intimate place. It wasn't called that. It was just, I wanted to talk about intimacy. And so he said, remember, you said you wanted to talk about this. I said, okay. And he gave me the name, which is The Intimate Place, My God, My Man, Myself. And I actually, because I wasn't working, I actually wrote the original piece of it in 10 days. Hey, I was home. I had nothing else to do, no children, no husband. But during that process, as we're talking about, this road is a lonely road, I didn't tell anybody about it because I knew, especially from where I came from, I knew somebody was going to try to talk me out of it. You need to be looking for a job later for writing a book. You need to be looking for a job, because family have the tendency, if you lose your job or if you're in a hard place, they all of a sudden they lose your number. Oh, I didn't see you text me. Oh, I didn't realize you called me, because they're going to think you're going to need money from them. But I'm going to put this quick piece in there.
Wow.
I was able to collect unemployment, but they only approved me for $200 after taxes, $168. I was like, God, there's no way I can live off $168. But I want somebody in the audience to know.
Come on with it.
God sustained me for 3 months with $168. I'm telling y'all, God sustained me with bringing $168 every week. I didn't have a car note because he made it to where I paid off my truck before I relocated. So if you say, I cannot do this, listen, I lived off of $168.
Tell him, Queen. Tell him.
I'm telling y'all. So the road was hard. I did not reach out to my family. I didn't ask them for a dime. And every time things got tight, I was like, okay, I guess I need to go back home. Listen, God moved mountains for me. So anybody who's doubting, when God tells you to do something and you're like, well, God, I don't have it. I said, well, how am I going to publish the book? He never responded until I sat myself down and I wrote the book. I reached out to a printing company. It was ready for printing and release. Then a job came through, and the job paid me sufficiently to cover the cost to have my book published and printed. So I'm telling anybody, if you are sitting here talking about, well, I'm waiting till I get the money. Listen, you're never going to have the money. Something's always going to come up.
Amen. Hallelujah.
I have to say this because there's so much wisdom right here. Y'all need to go on the wisdom app and just start telling your stories. Just start doing it. I'm serious, because that was one of the greatest apps I've ever heard about and I've been on. And there's so much just positive wisdom there for people just to pick up for free. And just like Queen said, I mean, you cannot hide from God the Father, because God the Father is going to put you on the path that he wants you to be on. He's going to sustain you, take care of you, and push you to the point where you feel like you just can't do it, but he's going to do it anyways. Because he wants to prosper you and not harm you. He wants to give you hope and a future. Because if you don't do it, you're never going to be happy. I did that for years. I went to school for acting. I've been singing and acting since I was 6 and 14. Okay. I went to college for it to get my degree in it. And all of a sudden 9/11 happened. My whole ideas changed. I went and I served my country in 2005 because it took that long for me to do it. I did that for almost a decade. And then I was medically retired because I wanted to stay in and do the 20 years, but God had a different idea. I got out, I went to college, and I was going for logistics because that's what I did. I was a supply clerk, a supply sergeant. So I did basically supply chain management. That's all I did. So I literally went to school for it. Did not do well at all. I had a baby on the way. I was getting a new house. I was stressed to high heaven. Plus, I was dealing with psychogenic, non-epileptic seizures every day. Spasms, muscle spasms that could last anywhere from 20 seconds up to 8 hours. My God. Ooh, when you're sitting down and your knee wants to join your face, it hurts after a while. My God. When you're laying down and you're doing nothing but crunches, involuntary crunches, for hours on end, it sucks after a while. And I was stressed. That's what happens when you get blown up almost a few times. But I got out. I left college, and I was always looking like, God, how can I take care of my family? There's no way around it. He got me a job. To be in inventory management over at a naval base down in southern Indiana, and I did that for a year. During that time, he introduced me to a friend. I call a friend, and one of the pawns that he put in front of me to say, here's your inspiration. And here's the funny thing that people always look at me like, really? This is what got you in? Yes. Dungeons and Dragons got me back into doing what I do. Because of the fact that I sat down and I watched some nerdy voice actors sit down, roll dice, and play Dungeons and Dragons. And you know what? It was the greatest thing that I ever did, because those people inspired me to do what I'm doing right now. And then I got laid off. I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? I got laid off for 4 months. I was unemployed for 4 months, living on a check for $400 for 4 people. It sucked. I
Yes.
was depressed. I was like, God, what the hell is going on here? What do you want me to do? Why are you doing this to me? And I'm glad it happened because it pushed me towards him more.
It did.
It improved my faith in him.
Me too.
As well as my internal strength to listen to him.
Yes.
And take care of my family and believe in what was going on. And here's the other thing. I got a job at a pharmaceutical company. Okay, great. It's not as much as I was making, but guess what? It's something.
Yes.
And during that time, I was still at that point where I was like, okay, do I want to actually do this or not? I was going home every day because I was doing the evening shift, 2:30 in the morning to 11:30 at night, and sometimes at midnight. It sucked. I hated it. I hated my job. And then one day, one of the people that inspired me said, if you have a passion for something, just do it.
Yes.
Just freaking do it and just be happy.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm glad I did, because now it's like, you know what? I'm going to do voiceover, because I had friends of mine, because I was being a dungeon master for them and creating these stories and developing these characters around them that they loved. And guess what? They pushed me as well. And since then, I have been doing this for 2.5 years. I started full time. I did part time, while I was doing a full time job. And then COVID hit and I got laid off again. And still, he helped me through that, because my wife was actually going to school for radiation therapy. And after she got done with school, she got a job and we moved towards where she's at. Now, because I have a pension from the military, we also go off of what she makes. And anything after that helps. So we're covered. And guess what? That first year, I got, out of thousands of auditions, I only got 10 of them, and 7 of them were free. But you know what? I had to build a portfolio. I had to build something up so I could get something. And ever since then, I've networked, I've worked with people, and I have been doing awesome. I would never, if I had not taken that leap of faith, I would have not done narration for a TV show that's going to be airing next month sometime.
Wow.
This month, called Planet Wild TV. And I did 13 episodes for them, and they already won a season 2, and they haven't even aired it yet. I've been able to do character voices for an animated short film in Amsterdam that's been all across Europe and done great at all these film festivals, and now it's going to be airing this month for its U.S. debut in Los Angeles.
Nice.
It's called Camouflage.
Nice.
And I've been able to work on an audiobook that I'm going to be working on, that I'm currently working on right now. And I have other people saying, hey, we want to work with you on this. I've been able to do promos for a variety of different companies. I've been able to do explainer videos and everything else because I listened to him. If I had not taken that leap of faith and did what I did, I would not be talking to you guys right now. I'd still be in a pharmaceutical company pushing glass through a sterilizer.
Maccabee, let me just jump in there for a second. I've never really shared my story. Give me a second, Carmen. When I first started BeMoreNews.com 19 years ago, nowadays everybody says Be More, but back then, 19 years ago, Be More was considered a ghetto term. But I started Be More News anyway. That was my vision. I can tell you 19 years later here in the city of Baltimore, we got Be More Doug, Be More Media. Everybody's copied media. So number one, if God puts something in you, as has been stated, follow that dream. I also wanted to say that when you are following your dream, I got a piece of advice from one of my mentors. I was married at the time, only stayed married 5 minutes, but the separation was longer than the marriage. But my mentor told me, don't laugh. He said, if you don't follow your dream, you will regret it.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter who's by your side, who's not by your side. As a
Yes.
matter of fact, with all due respect to the ex, she didn't think was making enough money. But years later, and I hope she's not watching, she started a business, and I'll never forget the day that she advertised on our website. No sooner than she advertised on it, other media outlets started contacting her. And so, again, if God gives you the vision, he will give you the provision. I can also tell you this, in 19 years of publishing Be More News and now Black USA, there were a handful of times that I wanted to quit. And invariably, someone would either knock on my door, literally, or call on the phone. And I knew it was God because they all said the same thing. The money will come. Invariably, someone would knock on my door or they will call on the phone right there while I'm stressing and say, the money will come. And I'm not going to say it's always been easy. I live in Baltimore and, you better have heat. But there were times I couldn't, I didn't have oil to keep my house warm. I'm huddled around the heater. And so you got to keep going. And again, if God gives you the vision, he'll give you the provision. As far as the books, writing books, one thing I wanted to share that I haven't heard stated, I remember my first book, Unapologetically Black, I spent about $1,200 on an editor. And that's because I had maybe 300, 400 pages of writing. But I knew I was wordy and I needed someone to clean up my efforts. And I'd love to hear what the panel has to say. But I had to invest in an editor. I mean, I knew I had good substance, but I knew it needed to be cleaned up. And the editor actually wanted $1,600, but I had to cut her off because she was getting a little ridiculous. But I'm still glad I paid the $1,200. I cut my losses. I took what I had and went to print with it. And I could have put more in the first book, but I said I'll just save it for a second one. And lastly, I want to say it's great to have a team around you. Leroy has helped me with the e-publishing. Pamela Reeves helped me with the self-publishing. Deborah Hardnett down in Atlanta helped me with the publishing. Frank Johnson helped me with my cover. And so if you don't know, then ask. If you like what Mark Polite's book cover looks like, hey, Mark, who did your cover? People tell you about Fiverr, Fiverr. I've never used it, but I've heard wonderful things about it. But don't let anything get in your way. The money will come. All I need is electricity, this internet connection, and this computer. And baby, it's on and popping. Thank you for letting me share.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Basically, I was just going to say, won't he do it? And this is just a confirmation of all, when you're dealing, and we've been dealing with a lot, all of us, in these past 2 years, whether it be heavily or just lightly, in perspective of our business, whether it be, trying to present a book right now, trying to do anything right now. And I just watched God's hands in the midst of what's happening. And one of the things I've learned and I've grown into more and more is believe and trust him. And that's all I'm going to say right now. Believe and trust him. Like you just shared, Donnie, if if he brought you to it, he's going to bring you
through it. Yep. And the other great thing about that is the fact that the reason why you have so many people around you telling you can't do it, or that why are you doing this? You're just going to fail at it again. What is your plan B or C or D or whatever the case may be of how many you have, is because the fact that God didn't show them your vision because it wasn't for them. He showed it to you because it was for you. You are what are going to absolutely change the world with that vision. There's a reason why he did it. There's a reason why all 6 of us are here right now, 7, 8 with the other 2, is because he wants us to meet. He wants us to share these words of wisdom for you because of the fact that this is what's going to be what somebody in the audience is going to say, you know what, because they did it, I'm going to do it. That's why. And you know what? There was another beautiful woman, and I hope that she is doing great right now. She goes by the name of Nightbird. If anybody knows America's Got Talent, she sang on that this past year. And one of the things that she said was, you cannot wait until life isn't hard anymore before you decide to be happy. And I'll say this again. I'm going to say it again. You cannot wait until life isn't hard anymore before you decide to be happy. This woman has 2% of a survivability from cancer that's in her lungs, in her liver, and somewhere else in her body. I can't remember. But she also stated this: 2% of survival isn't 0. 2% is something, and something is better than nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Donnie, before we wind down, I'm going to flip the script on you because I need you to talk about that book behind you, who you are, the book that you wrote, the 2 books that you've written, and then tell people about why you've written them and a little bit about your background.
Okay. And Joey, thank you for joining us down in Miami. Hello, Joey.
Well, hello. How's everybody doing?
Give me a chance to plug your book. So the first book, Unapologetically Black, I had to write a book because I'm a writer. I got 2 news websites and I do a radio show, and I've been promoting authors like Leroy and Mark Polite since forever. Matter of fact, all of these writers have inspired me, but I knew I've been writing since I was 6 years old. A love letter to Lisa. I ain't gonna tell you her last name because she's married, but she's still pretty. But Unapologetically Black, I've just done. Okay, it's an autobiography, and some people will say, "Hey, you have to be a certain age to write an autobiography." Well, I'm 56. Back then, I was 51, and in my community, Black people are checking out at 17 and 18. So I'm a granddad of 2, and so it's never too early to write your story. And as has been stated, you never know who you're inspiring. But Unapologetically Black was, taking 20 some years of being a journalist. I've been a journalist since 94. And it was no way. Plus, I promoted 1 book. I will not say the author's name, that was Do. Have you ever seen somebody's book and you like, he put that out there, she put that out there? And so I was seeing all of this other stuff, and I was like, well, damn, I know I can do better than that. And then also I had a coach. And I encourage, if you don't have one, have an author coach, someone who's going to stay on you like a personal trainer. And his name is David Miller. David Miller. He's a Capricorn. They polite bullies. And he just
hey, don't be talking about us like that. You ain't never lied.
I'm gonna talk about him like a dog. He would not leave me alone. I was like, leave me alone. He would not leave me alone until I published that book. So the first book was straight up harassment. He was being violent. He's just like, Glover, you finished the book? Glover, you finished? I was like, man, just publish the book to shut him up. So the second book, I could relax a little bit more. We've been giving away Black Wall Street Awards since 2011. They look like this. And Joey, yeah, I know. I got one coming in the mail for you. I'm working on it. But we gave away over nearly 1,800 awards. New York, Atlanta, Richmond, New Orleans, Baltimore, Prince George's. And so with this year being the 100th commemoration of Tulsa, I wanted to write a book not on Tulsa, If you see on the cover, it actually, there's a map touches Oklahoma, Kansas, and Florida. I wanted to look at how those black people got to Oklahoma in the first place. And then I also touch on the fact that Black Wall Street was not just in Tulsa. Technically, there are two other Black Wall Streets, one in Richmond, made famous by Maggie Lena Walker, the first woman to charter a bank in America, the first woman of any race, beautiful black woman. And then also there's an official Black Wall Street in Durham, North Carolina. However, everywhere there were black people, from the Gullah Islands all the way to Allensdale, California, over 550 black towns in Texas. Did y'all know that? In Oklahoma, 70 to 80 black towns. One of the first official black towns was in Florida, Edensville, made famous by Zora Neale Hurston. Another one, 1887, same year, was in Mound Bayou, Mississippi. I remember first researching Tulsa, and somebody said, well, you better look at Mound Bayou, Mississippi. I'm like, I'm talking about Oklahoma. And it started to come to me because so much of our history has been hidden from us, that wherever there were black people, there was a Black Wall Street. I'll give you this one most interesting fact. How many of you knew that Florida was not an original colony? Spain owned Florida until 1831. So that meant that blacks who escaped from Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, North Carolina, South, if they could get to Florida, now we always thought of freedom as going north. Well, we black and it's cold. A lot of black people went south, deep into the Florida Everglades, and they are known, the ones who never left are called, in terms of Seminole Indians, they are called the unconquered. Well, one other fact, a lot of black people are Native American. A lot of black people are Native American. Not all black people came in the bottom of a slave ship. As a matter of fact, I share that Juan Garrido, Garrido, was a Spanish conquistador. Freedom is not new to us. Having our own towns is not new to us. It goes back 500 years. As long from our first interaction with the European, we've had to fight. So that was, that's it in a nutshell. That's the abbreviated version, Leroy.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's hop down to, you said.
So my man Joey, tell him your story. Y'all get ready to hear a story now.
Okay, so I'm Joey Noble. I'm down here in Miami. In 2013, I was in a car accident. I was actually going to school in Gainesville for biomedical engineering. I came home from my friend's baby shower and he lost control of the car. It was 5 people in the car. I was in the back seat in the middle. Everybody walked away except me. So I'm paralyzed from the neck down. But it really didn't. As I said in the comment, I wasn't worried about God, or I wasn't looking for God until I needed him. I really wasn't looking for God until all I can do was lay in the bed and look up and ask him why. As Mr. Griffin said, what's really going on with me. And it took me to sit down to really move forward to what I'm doing. I say this accident was a tragedy, but I've never would have reached down and touched the part of my humanity and got to know the man that I am now if I had not got into this accident. I've written a book. I actually reached out to Mr. Don and Mr. Leroy at one point when I was getting ready to self-publish my book. It's called The Bible Says What? And that's just really an outline or a summary of the Bible. There are things in the Bible that we don't even know that we don't know. We often say, I serve God, or I'm covered in the blood, but do you know the man whose blood you claim you're covered in? Like, do we really know the God that we claim and we serve? Do we know what's in Judges 19? Do we know what's in Exodus 29 through 30, 31? The blessings and the curses. We know he say, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. But do we know what those blessings and curses are as they are outlined in Deuteronomy 28 through 31? And then we get to the Song of Moses in Deuteronomy 32. So it just set me down. Sitting me down has opened me up to do multiple things, from a clothing brand to making music, to building my own websites, to making my own music, to writing a book, to self-publishing a book, all without functional use of my hands. I use these headphones and my voice and my brain to control this computer and tell this computer to do everything I need to do. If you go to thenoblemanbrand.com, it's my holding company, my conglomerate. If Warren Buffett can have Berkshire Hathaway and he can own all of these companies, why can't I? So I also have a financial advocacy platform, 1921inc.com. You can go there where I'm advocating and educating on um, financial wealth and building financial and generational wealth, not just making money. There's a difference between making money and building wealth. I educate on that, 1921inc.com. I am by no means smarter than the next man. I am just I am just researching and learning, and I'm just maybe one or two steps ahead of the next guy. But I don't need to wait until I'm 10 steps ahead to look back and reach. I can take a step, reach back and bring somebody. I can take another step, reach back and help somebody. And that's basically what I'm doing. From
Did
music
you
to
tell them about the
t-shirts.
clothing line?
Oh yeah, AY Asher is my actual clothing brand. AY Asher. So I got that name from, if you go to Exodus 3:14, we know that God says, "My name is I am who I am." He told Moses, "I need you to go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go." Moses said, "Who is you? Who I'm supposed to go and tell these people something?" He said, "I am that I am." So if you translate that into the Hebrew, it is Ahaya, Ashur, Ahaya. So what I did was I just shortened Ahaya to AY, and I kept Asher. So the clothing line is basically AY Asher. I am who I am. Modest Island Music, that's down here. I live in Model City, Florida. So I just named it Modest Island Music, which is another. It's all faith based. It's all it's all Christian centered. I just started a group on Facebook called Disciple Mafia Family. We love the mob movies. We love Scarface. We love The Godfather. Well, we have that in the Bible. Jesus, the Last Supper was the Godfather said at the end of the table. Well, the son of the father sat at the head of the table with his 12 guys, and he gave them rules and regulations. We see the same thing in The Godfather. We see the same thing in Scarface, and we will commemorate them for doing it. But we have this in the Bible, and it's boring to us. One more thing I would say is we often praise the strippers who was a stripper and became a musician, Cardi B and this, that, and the fifth. We praise the rappers who became or who got out of jail and flipped money, Rick Ross. But Joseph was in jail. Joseph was in jail 15 some years. He got out and he flipped barley. He sold barley to the Egyptians and the Canaanites. We don't praise Joseph like we should. They say Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. Okay, that's cool. Mary Magdalene was the one who backed Jesus in all the ministry. When you go and read, Jesus didn't have a job. He was a carpenter, but he quit carpentry to be a minister. Jesus didn't really pay for anything. How did Jesus pay for all of his food? How did Jesus pay for everything? He said, um, "Foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man had nowhere to lay his head." Yet him and his disciples had a need for nothing. They paid for nothing. Who bankrolled them? Mary Magdalene and Joanna. So this so-called prostitute, yeah, even if she was a prostitute, she took that money and she flipped it into a ministry and supported the Messiah. But we don't often see it like that. So I use Disciple Mafia Family to present, you know, um, all this gangster and this mob mentality in these movies. It's just as exciting in the Bible. We just got to present it the right way, and that's what I try to do in the book. The Bible says what you can get it on Amazon. Um, I'm doing so many things. Most of it you can find most of it at thenoblemanbrand.com, and we just gonna build from there. It's like Donnie say, I am Black Wall Street. I'm not building Black Wall Street. I'm not a part of Black Wall Street. I am Black Wall Street.
Mm.
And that's my story in a nutshell.
We got to get some prayer going on. Come on, Carmen King, lift us up in prayer, Reverend.
You're on mute.
I unmute. I got it now. I'm like, what's that about? But anyway, sure, no problem. Father, we just continue to thank you.
I'm sorry.
Someone was saying something. Father, thank you and we praise you. We thank you for this forum. We thank you for this time. God, as we rise up and continue to rise up, first we give you praise, we give you glory, we give you honor in the name of Jesus. And we thank you for the time and fellowship, God. We thank you that you place gifts and talents and so much in us to glorify you. So we thank you that even now, that as we connect and we just make things clear and your vision clear, as we connect and take things to a new level, and we thank you for what's about to transpire in 2022. We believe you, God, one more time. We trust you one more time as you said, to write the vision and make it plain upon tables. And in the name of Jesus. So we thank you right now that even now that we are making the vision clear, we are writing the vision, we are preparing the vision as you have put us together, God. So God, as you impart in us the books that you desire for us to write, the visions and the different things that you desire for us to bring forth, we believe you right now for an outpour of a better 2022. We thank you as you remove all the stumbling blocks, as you push us forward, God. We thank you as you remove all the hindrances, God, as you push us forward. God, we thank you that as we trust you, you're going to do it again. Thank you for the men of God that have been taking time, the men of God, Donnie, and the men of God, Leroy, that have taken this time to put this together, to bring forth these authors, even the others that were here prior. We thank you, God, because we know there are great things ahead, and you want us to focus on the great things ahead and the better things ahead. So we put it all into your hands as we're about to close out. We trust you again, God, and we believe you. As we lift everything up to you, we lift down Donnie's station up to you. We lift the wisdom that he needs, the understanding that he needs right now. We continue to believe you and know that whatever and however you're connecting and whatever you're doing, we don't want you to do it don't do it without us, God, as we put ourselves before you in Jesus' name. Amen and amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Hey, Donnie, before we go, I want to make sure that everybody is connected, with each other, whether it's through social media and all the other ways, because I've seen stuff going on in the back chat that, people are connecting. But make sure that all of your information that you need is either in the chat or that, that we connect some kind of way where you can pull them up on Facebook. That way, all of us can take can take this networking, this opportunity that we've had to be able to connect each other, but build each other and grow with each other. Because this is what it was all about. So thank you, Donnie, for putting this together. Thank you for allowing us to be on your platform to be able to have this discussion with authors, because as you know, and I know you're passionate about it, about having our voice being heard. And your media outlet is one of those voices that, or one of those platforms that allows authors, Black authors specifically, to be able to have their voices heard, their messages heard, their movements heard, and everything else. So thank you again for doing this.
So Leroy, Mark, Mac, let's go around the horn and everybody do a 1 or 2 minute spiel to practice our pitch. Again, thank you for joining us. We'd love to do this again. Whatever Leroy says, he's our fearless leader, and we will. So Leroy, why don't you start it off? Plug yourself. Show them how it's done.
No, absolutely. No, thank you, Doug, for saying that. By far, that you are the conductor of this and the leader of this. But
we're all,
you can.
that word say we all fishers of men. Come on now, preacher.
Exactly, you're right about that. You're absolutely right about that. But really quickly, you can connect with me at www.jnfenterprises.com. I am on Facebook under jnfenterprises.com, or my name, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. YouTube, JNF Enterprises, Instagram, What's Up Baltimore Magazine, LinkedIn, Leroy McKenzie Jr. All of those, you can connect with me. Come holler at your boy. Just don't yell, and let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's bring those visions to reality.
Mark Polite. Unmute
You're
yourself,
muted,
Mark.
sir.
Yeah.
And all right, so scratch that. Like I was saying, thank you for the invite. So to connect with me, you can go to the following: www.politeonsociety.com. That's my main site where I blog pretty much 3 times a week, and you can see me there. Also, my author website, markpolite.com. And in addition to that, I'm available on Instagram and Twitter at Mark Polite, and I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn under my name. Just search me up, Mark Polite. So that's all where you can find me at. If you want to also send me an email, it's mark.w.polite@gmail.com. So you can reach me all at those different places. So I'm pretty much available, and yeah, so that's what it is. My byline is a man of few words but a busy pen.
Yeah.
Come on, Matt.
Absolutely.
Yes, you can find me on at macgriffinvo.com. That where you can get a little bit, learn a little bit more about me, as well as hear some samples of audiobooks, character voices, promos, literally anything that has a digital voice to it. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Maccabee Griffin, and Facebook, Instagram, Wisdom, and Clubhouse at Mac Griffin VO. And I would say my best line would be, you have to have faith in everything that you do, because if you have a vision, that means it's ready for you. And don't worry about how long it takes, because when the HPS gets to you, it gets to you. And by the way, that means Heavenly Postal Service, by the way.
Come on in, Nodella.
All right. So actually, I was actually sending out requests while conversation was going on. So you can pretty much find me anywhere. I just tell people Google my name and I'll come up. But I am on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram as Nodella Sacagawea Jordan. I am the one and only, so you don't have to worry about 500 of those names popping up. I am an original. And that's what my byline is that I am an original. And that's why I changed all of my social media handles to Nodella Sacagawea Jordan, because you will not find anybody else with that name combination. And it was a pleasure.
What is Sacagawea?
Well, I'm sure you are a man of history, and you know who she is,
I
according to the
don't.
history books. You don't know who Sacagawea is. How do you not know who Sacagawea is?
Get them.
Uh-oh.
Oh
That was in the
Lord.
history books. How do you not know who Sacagawea is? Lewis and Clark. She was part of
It's an
Lewis and
Indian.
Clark's expedition,
Okay.
and she ended up marrying a Frenchman by the name of Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau. They actually made a coin of her and her son. They made a coin of her and
Well,
her son about 10, 15 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
okay,
So I
fancy.
am a Native American Cherokee, according to my father, and that was his way of wanting to continue or to have some type of attachment to who we were in terms of being Native American. So
Power to the people. Thank you. Carmen King.
yeah.
Man.
This has been a real
Again, it was a
comedy show,
pleasure,
hasn't
and
it?
thank you. I know, right? Thank you again so much for the invite, Lyra, and a pleasure meeting you, Donnie, and everyone else. You can connect with me on most social media platforms. I'm on most of them. Basically, I have a YouTube channel. It's at Carmen King CK. On Facebook, I'm at CK Elder Carmen King. On IG, I'm at Elder CM King, at Elder CM King 50, and LinkedIn is Carmen King. So basically, if you put in Carmen King, you should be able to connect with me. Only on Twitter, I'm a little different, where I promote more of my travel business, which is KM Travels Group, and that's on Twitter. And you'll see more. Once you put my name in, you'll see more of that. Again, thank you again for the invite, and it was a pleasure.
Joey Noble.
Okay. Well, I thank you, Mr. Don, for giving me this last minute invite to share my story. As I said, you can find me on www.thenoblemanbrand.com. And on that website, that's the main website. So from there, you can click on AY Asher to go to the t-shirt brand. You can click on Modest Island Music to go to the music. You can click on the ministry. You can click on the 1921. Each one of those pages are linked there. So that's the main hub to get to everything. On Facebook, you just type me in Joey Noble Jr. You will see my daddy, and you know we look alike, but we ain't the same. So Joey Noble Jr. That's me on Facebook. Like on when you get to the Nobleman brand, each one of those pages will take you to AY Asher Facebook and Modest Island Music Facebook. So you can find those social media pages on those particular websites. Personally, Joey Noble Jr. on Facebook, and then to get the book, you go to Amazon, or you can go to the Bible says what.org. If it doesn't pop up, I'm having a little problem with my landing page. You can find it. Just go to Amazon, type in the Bible says what, and my first name, and the book should pop up. But that's about it. If I was to say anything to leave someone with, is well, as I was laying in the bed, I often thought my life was over, my life is over, my life is over. And I would tell someone, if you feel like that through any trial or tribulation, your life isn't over. The life you planned is over. So
Mhm.
plan a new one. Plan a
Mm.
new one.
If any of you would like to do a show on this network, we welcome you. We have shows 7 days a week. On Monday nights, we have shared spaces with Chap and Quita. On Tuesday nights, the Donnie Glover Show. Wednesday, Sister Biz. Thursday night, live from Oakland, we have the Black Business Roundtable. Friday night, live from Oakland, we have Black USA Crypto News. Saturday mornings, live from New York, the Blackout Live with Tasmere Gathers. And on Sundays at 6, we have Mike Haney with 60 Minutes in Black USA. Also, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m., I do the BlackUSA.News morning show. My number is 443-858-2737. 858-2684. 443-858-2684. Mr. McKenzie, you want to take us on out?
Yeah, the last thing, I guess Dr. Marcy and Catherine, they stepped off because I want to make sure that they aren't behind the scenes before we sign off, so that they can do their information as well. If not, then again, Donnie, thank you again for allowing us to be able to come and be a part of this book fair that you had, to be able to give us the opportunity to be able to talk about our mission, our message, our movement, and motivation. There's only 27 days left in 2021, you all, and my thing to everyone is, what are you building in 2022? It's building season. What are you building in 2022? My name is Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. I am the Impact Builder. We'll see you all soon. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Happy holidays as well.
Bye, everyone.
Same to you.
Bye,
Stay
everyone.
safe.
Happy
Everybody
holidays.
stay safe.
Alrighty.
This has been beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Donnie.